Hi everyone, it's Lindsay, and I want to share how to make a see-through shaker card with you today. So the first thing I did was I printed off this Winter Birdhouse digital stamp from Craft and Desert Divas. I printed it off twice onto white cardstock, and I am going to fussy cut on my second one. I'm going to fussy cut all that snow and also the little bird from this stamp. So the rest of it I'm going to throw away. Those are the only parts I'm going to keep. On each of those little snow drifts or little mounds of snow that I fussy cut off of that stamp, I am going to put on a nice thick layer of this whip spackle product. This is from Faber-Castell, and I am just going to mix that up because it has been sitting a while. I don't use this a whole lot, but I actually like this product so much better than the texture paste. It has a little bit more give and it doesn't crack as easily on me. So I'm going to put a nice thick layer of that over each one of these little mounds of snow, and then I will very carefully lift them up from that paper and place them onto another paper just to give them some place to dry. Now you will see I have a lot of leftover product on that scratch piece of paper. I'm going to use my spatula here to scrape that back up and put it back in the jar because I can reuse that. Now I am going to take some of this distress glitter. This is a nice chunky glitter, and I'm going to sprinkle it very liberally all over these wet snow mounds that have the whip spackle on them. Now you might want to give them a little bit of a press with your finger, not too rough, just very gently press it down in there, and I am pouring a lot of this on there. You don't have to worry about waste because you can always funnel the glitter back into the jar once it's dry, so I just set that aside to dry for now. I left the glitter on there and everything. I just moved the paper off to the side. Now on my second little digital stamp here that I printed out, I ran that through my Big Shot with this large scalloped rectangle die. This is from the Fancy Frames die set from Craft and Desert Divas, and I just cut that out very quickly. Now I'm going to use my alcohol markers to color in this stamp. I use my laser printer to print this off, so I'm not going to have any trouble with bleeding. So I will use a couple sets of browns to color in this birdhouse. I'm using one set to color in the area around the hole of the birdhouse, and then on the roof and also on the base I'll use two different colors just to kind of give it a little bit more interest on this image. Now I don't need to worry about coloring in the snow, that will be covered up, and I also don't need to worry about coloring in the hole. You'll see that I did, but you don't need to worry about it. Now I did color in the fussy cut bird, and on the bird on the actual birdhouse, I'm just going to outline that just in case any of it peeks through. Maybe that I cut a little bit too close on the fussy cut bird. So just as a little backup, I'll go ahead and color just around the outside of that bird. And you'll see I leave the center completely bare. Now I cut out the circle from the birdhouse using a circle die, and I also overlaid that onto my card base that I will be using, and I cut through the card base too, so it's in the exact same spot. Now I also used a piece of fun foam that I cut down to slightly smaller than that scalloped rectangle, and I used a slightly bigger circle die, and I cut that out from my fun foam. You can use the same size circle die that you used to cut out that hole from the birdhouse. I just found it gives me a little bit more wiggle room if I just cut it slightly bigger in the fun foam. So on the inside of the card, because I used a colored card base, which is an A2 size, I need to go ahead and put down a white rectangle inside of that so I have somewhere to write. Now I am using the Simply Said sentiment set for my sentiment on this card, and I had so many choices because they all fit so perfectly into this little hole. I didn't have any specific occasion that I need this card for right away, so I just kind of played around with the sentiment, and I'm just overlaying it over that hole to see what it might look like once it's stamped in there. Now for a card like this, you do need to go ahead and stamp your sentiment before you start putting it together. You can stamp it afterwards, but for perfect placement, I highly suggest doing it before you start putting it together. So I decided to go ahead and go with this small thanks little sentiment, and I'm just using some black dye ink, and I've closed the front of the card, and I'm just going to stamp right through that little die cut hole. That way I know it's in the perfect place. Now I've pulled out some of this clear acetate, and I'm just going to cut 2 rectangles that fit over both of those holes. I need 2 sheets here because I'm going to make a completely see-through shaker. Now on the fun foam, I'm going to go ahead and use some very thin adhesive, and I'm just going around the hole that I've made on the fun foam, and I'll just place that acetate right over that adhesive to glue it in place. Now I messed up here. I went ahead and put acetate down over my back hole here. You do not want to do this. I end up having to rip it up, but I wanted to leave everything in there to show you my mistake and show you how I fixed it, because my cards don't come together easily. I mean, I mess up a lot and I have to tear them apart and go back in and redo things. So I'm going to go ahead and on the side that I have my acetate on that fun foam, I'm putting double-sided adhesive over that, and I'm going to put it right down on top of that scalloped rectangle die that has my birdhouse on it. Now you'll see here why I left such a big hole with that die cut. I found that if I make it the same size, it becomes really tiresome to line it up perfectly. So I didn't put my acetate down at the right time, so I did have to go ahead and rip it up off the back of that card base. And then I'll go ahead and fill the inside of my little shaker that I have going on here with some pretty and pink sequins. These are from Craft and Desert Divas as well. And I did match my bird and my card base to the sequin mix because I knew I wanted to use it. Now I put some more adhesive around that hole, and I put down a new piece of acetate over the back of that just to secure those sequins in place. Then I will add some adhesive, more adhesive on the back of that fun foam, peel up the backing paper off of that, and then I can look straight through that and line that up with that hole on the side of the card base, and there I've got my perfectly see-through shaker. So whenever your recipient gets this, they're going to think that the sentiment is inside there, but once you open it, you'll see the sentiment on the inside of the card. So I went ahead and I took that fussy cut bird, I put some fun foam on the back of it, and I just popped that up right over the bird on the birdhouse just to give it a little dimension. Now I put some adhesive on the back of both of these little snow mounds that I made. They're not quite dry, so I had to be a little careful here. And I'm just going to place those over both of the snow mounds on the birdhouse for more dimension on this card. And that finishes off today's card. There's a lot going on this card, and it's not something you would want to make a ton of, but every once in a while it's fun to make a really interactive card and just pull out everything and really go to town on it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, I will leave you with this close-up and a few pictures of the finished card.